Welcome to Health 2660. Here, we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. Linda had lived a life dictated by the stark, unforgiving rules of type 2 diabetes for what felt like an eternity. 65 years young, and yet her world had shrunk to the size of a carefully curated, meticulously measured plate. Each calorie was a potential landmine, each carbohydrate a looming threat. The word sweet was practically a curse, whispered with a mixture of longing and fear. Decades of medical advice, well-meaning, but ultimately joyless dietary restrictions, had turned her into a prisoner of her own well-being. Her days were a monotonous cycle of blood sugar checks, bland meals, and a persistent, gnawing sense of deprivation. She often felt like a ghost in her own life, watching others indulge in simple pleasures, while she remained tethered to her self-imposed dietary prison. Her grandchildren would offer her cookies, their faces alight with innocent generosity, and she would have to politely decline the word no, tasting like ash in her mouth. Holidays were the worst a minefield of tempting treats and well-intentioned but ultimately harmful dishes. She would bring her own food, a sad, lonely plate, amidst a table laden with celebratory feasts. Even the natural sweetness of fruit had become her enemy. Apples, pears, berries, all relegated to the forbidden zone. She had been told time and again that fruit was too high in sugar, a dangerous indulgence for someone with her condition. The joy of biting into a juicy peach on a hot summer day, the simple pleasure of a handful of sweet berries. These were memories, relics of a past she could no longer access. Her kitchen, once a place of creativity and warmth, had become a sterile laboratory. Every ingredient was scrutinized, every recipe modified beyond recognition. She had lost the love of cooking, the joy of sharing a meal with loved ones. Food had become a source of anxiety, a constant reminder of her limitations. Her social life had suffered as well. Eating out was a nightmare, a constant struggle to find something suitable on the menu. She avoided restaurants, preferring the safety of her own kitchen, even if it meant eating alone. Her friends tried to be understanding, but she could see the pity in their eyes. They would offer suggestions, recommend sugar-free alternatives, but nothing could replace the real thing. She longed for the spontaneity, the freedom to enjoy a meal without constantly calculating the carbohydrate content. The joy of living had slowly been leached out of her, replaced by a dull, persistent ache of restriction. She felt old, tired, and increasingly isolated. Her doctor, a kind but somewhat detached man, had prescribed a regimen of medication and strict dietary guidelines. He would commend her for her discipline, but he never seemed to understand the emotional toll it was taking. He saw her as a collection of numbers, blood sugar levels, cholesterol readings, body mass index. But he never saw the woman behind the data, the woman who longed for a taste of joy. He would say things like, "You're doing a great job managing your condition." But he never asked her if she was happy. He never asked her if she missed the simple pleasures of life. And so Linda continued to live her life in a state of perpetual restriction, a prisoner of her own well-being. She followed the rules, took her medication, and diligently monitored her blood sugar. But inside, she was slowly dying. She yearned for a taste of freedom, a moment of indulgence, a flicker of joy. She longed to feel alive again, to reconnect with the world around her, to rediscover the simple pleasures she had lost. One sweltering summer afternoon, the heat hanging heavy in the air. Linda found herself staring out the window, lost in thought. The sun beat down on the lush green garden, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers. She watched as a hummingbird flitted from blossom to blossom, its tiny wings a blur of motion. A sudden wave of longing washed over her, a deep, visceral ache for something she couldn't quite name. She felt a profound sense of disconnect, a feeling of being trapped in a life that no longer felt like her own. She wanted to feel the sun on her skin, the wind in her hair, the taste of something sweet on her tongue. She wanted to feel alive again. As she stood there, lost in her thoughts, her gaze fell upon a watermelon sitting on the kitchen counter. It was a gift from her neighbor, a vibrant green orb promising refreshment on a hot summer day. She had been avoiding it, of course. Watermelon was far too high in sugar, a forbidden fruit. But as she stared at it, a rebellious thought began to form in her mind. What if she allowed herself just one slice? What if she defied the rules, just for a moment? The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. She knew the risks, the potential consequences, but the longing for a taste of sweetness, the desire to feel alive again, was stronger than her fear. With trembling hands, she reached for the knife. She sliced the watermelon open, revealing its juicy red flesh. The sweet, summery scent filled the air, awakening long dormant memories of childhood picnics and carefree days. She cut a small slice, hesitant but determined. She sprinkled it with a dash of cinnamon, a spice she had recently learned could help regulate blood sugar. It was a small act of rebellion, a tiny step towards reclaiming her life. She closed her eyes and took a bite. The sweetness exploded on her tongue, a burst of pure, unadulterated joy. It was the most delicious thing she had tasted in years. As she savored the flavor, a wave of emotion washed over her. She felt a sense of liberation, a feeling of breaking free from the chains of restriction. It was just one slice of watermelon, but it represented so much more. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that she could still find joy in life even with diabetes. To her surprise, not only did it taste incredibly refreshing, but she also noticed something else. The sweetness seemed to quell the persistent sugar cravings that had plagued her for years. It was as if the small taste of natural sweetness had satisfied a deep primal need. She felt a surge of energy, a lightness she hadn't experienced in a long time. Encouraged by this unexpected discovery, Linda began to experiment. She started adding a small plum to her afternoon routine. She had always avoided plums, fearing their sweetness, but she discovered that they were gentle on her digestion and soothing for her joints. The plum became a small, daily indulgence, a reminder that she could enjoy life without jeopardizing her health. In the evenings, she started roasting pumpkin with cinnamon and olive oil. The aroma filled her kitchen with comforting memories of childhood, of her grandmother's warm kitchen, and the smell of pumpkin pie baking in the oven. The roasted pumpkin was surprisingly satisfying, and she noticed that it helped her sleep better and stabilized her blood sugar levels in the morning. She felt a sense of calm and well-being she hadn't experienced in years. What tied it all together was cinnamon, a simple spice that not only enhanced the flavor of the fruits and vegetables, but also seemed to support her blood sugar control. She researched its properties extensively, learning about its potential to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. Cinnamon became her secret weapon, a natural remedy that helped her manage her diabetes without sacrificing flavor or enjoyment. Day by day, Linda's health improved, not through deprivation or restriction, but through mindful nourishment and a newfound appreciation for the healing power of food. She stopped seeing food as the enemy and started viewing it as a source of nourishment and joy. She learned to listen to her body, to pay attention to its signals, to eat when she was hungry, and stop when she was full. She rediscovered the pleasure of cooking, experimenting with new recipes and flavors, finding creative ways to incorporate fruits, vegetables, and spices into her diet. She started inviting friends over for dinner, sharing her culinary creations, and inspiring them with her story. She no longer felt like a prisoner of her own well-being. She felt free, alive, and empowered. She had reclaimed her health, her energy, and her joy. She had discovered that healing didn't mean giving up flavor. It meant choosing foods that loved her back. She started volunteering at a local community center, sharing her story with others who were struggling with diabetes. She became a beacon of hope, a living testament to the power of mindful nourishment. She showed them that it was possible to live a full, vibrant life, even with diabetes. She taught them how to incorporate fruits, vegetables, and spices into their diets, how to listen to their bodies, and how to find joy in food again. She emphasized the importance of self-care, of taking time for themselves, of finding activities that brought them joy. She encouraged them to embrace a holistic approach to health, focusing not only on diet and exercise, but also on mental and emotional well-being. Linda's transformation was profound, not only physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. She had shed not only pounds, but also years of accumulated negativity and self-doubt. Her eyes sparkled with newfound vitality, and her smile radiated warmth and genuine joy. She had discovered that the secret to a fulfilling life was not restriction, but rather embracing the abundance of nature and the healing power of food. She continued to experiment with new flavors and ingredients, always seeking to expand her culinary horizons. She became a master of mindful cooking, creating dishes that were both delicious and nutritious. She learned to appreciate the subtle nuances of each ingredient, to savor the flavors, and to nourish her body and soul. She found joy in the simple act of preparing a meal, transforming her kitchen into a sanctuary of creativity and well-being. She started practicing yoga and meditation, finding solace and strength in these ancient disciplines. She learned to quiet the negative voices in her head, to embrace self-compassion, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace. She discovered that true healing was not just about managing her blood sugar levels, but about nurturing her mind, body, and spirit. She reconnected with her passions, rediscovering her love for painting, gardening, and spending time in nature. She found joy in the simple things, in the beauty of a sunset, in the laughter of her grandchildren, in the warmth of a loving embrace. She realized that life was a gift, and she was determined to make the most of every moment. She started traveling the world, exploring new cultures and cuisines, immersing herself in the richness and diversity of human experience. She discovered that food was a universal language, a way to connect with people from all walks of life. She shared her story with everyone she met, inspiring them to embrace a more mindful and compassionate approach to food and health. Linda's story has been a guiding light for so many because it showcases that healthy eating isn't only about rigid rules. It's about rediscovering the simple pleasures, and flavors that nature provides. It's about finding foods that nourish both the body and the soul. The secret to Linda's success wasn't just in the specific fruits and spices she embraced, but in the mindset shift she underwent. She stopped viewing food as a threat and started seeing it as a source of healing and pleasure. She discovered the power of mindful eating, savoring each bite, and truly appreciating the flavors and textures of her food. She learned to listen to her body's signals, eating when she was hungry and stopping when she was satisfied. She also recognized the importance of incorporating other healthy habits into her life, such as regular exercise, adequate sleep, and stress management techniques. She found that these practices not only helped her manage her diabetes, but also improved her overall well-being. She began practicing yoga and meditation, finding that these activities helped her to reduce stress, improve her mood, and connect with her inner self. She also made a conscious effort to prioritize sleep, recognizing that it was essential for her physical and mental health. She established a regular sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine to help her unwind before bed. She also learned to manage stress through deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, and spending time in nature. Linda's holistic approach to health was truly transformative. She didn't just focus on managing her blood sugar levels, she focused on nurturing her entire being. She recognized that her physical, mental, and emotional health were all interconnected, and that by caring for all aspects of herself, she could achieve optimal well-being. Her story serves as an inspiration to us all. It reminds us that we have the power to take control of our health and our lives. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.